All right. So the next person we are bringing up on stage today is going to be Tristan Guillevin. That's my best French accent. I apologize to Gabby and every other French person watching. I apologize to Tristan, but that was my best bet. And he's going to be talking to us about the forever beginner's path. Tristan is a data visualization freelancer and a Tableau expert based in Rotterdam. So I'm now going to load up his pre-recorded talk about the forever beginner's path. Give me just a moment to find it. All good. Here we go. Let's see if this works.
Thank you for joining us today. Also thanks to all the Elevate team who put this together, and also a big thank you for all the speakers who spoke before me and will speak after. And let's get started. So today I'm going to talk about the forever beginner's path. My name is Tristan Guillevin, and you can find me online everywhere at La Database. Currently, I'm working as a data visualization freelance, but in my beginning, in my field in the data world, it was in 2014. I was using SAP Business Object to do my dashboard. So not the funniest tool, but it was a beginning, right? A year later, I was working as an analytics consultant using mostly Tableau. One of my missions, and I can show you that because it's available on Tableau Public, was to work with the Council of Europe. And our goal was to reproduce this book, The Efficiency and Quality of Justice, which was a book that was containing a lot of information about the European judicial system, and convert the book in Tableau visualization. So just to show you some example, we made some tables for the journalists to be able to find really precise figures. We made bar charts to be able to compare the different countries, and of course map to see the geographical information of those countries, right? And that is just really a small example, but in almost all my work with client, and every time you work in the business area, what you will create is like bar chart, line chart, maps, and tables, right? But for a really good reason. Those are really efficient type of chart. They serve a good purpose. Everyone knows them, so they are easy to understand. They are really good charts. So there is a good way, a good reason that we are using them. But personally, I wanted to be a bit more creative. I wanted to express that. And I started to experiment on Tableau Public, so sharing my work, and on subject that I liked. So for example, I made this dashboard about beer consumption in Europe. And instead of standard bar chart, I used those kind of glass of beer with a tap beer to represent which country was drinking more beer. Another example was this visualization about the forest cover, the biodiversity, endangered species, things like that. And I wanted for you to feel like you were inside a jungle, maybe lost in the rainforest. Hence this kind of look. Another example was this one, which seemed much more clean, much more simple, but I experimented with animation to show the housing market crash in the US. So this time it was really the animation that was the center of my creativity, let's say. But in all the example that I just showed you, it was still just bar chart, line chart, maps, and table. Nothing new, no new type of chart. And I think the reason why was because of my data viz process. See, I was using Tableau for everything, from data exploration to sketching to UI to development and publishing. And I think that was my main issue. And if I'm honest with you, it was looking more like this. So data exploration and publishing were like clear in my mind, but the entire process of creating something in the middle was a bit of a mess. So I was really thinking, no, I need to be a beginner again in some way. I need to learn a new tool. I need to learn new tools to allow me to do my job better. So starting from this, I thought, okay, maybe I should learn Power BI and ClickView, and I call that the BI Expert Edition, right? Because you are not really solving anything in your process of creating. You are just adding more tools that kind of are doing the same thing. Yes, people fight over those tools, but in the end, they serve the same purpose. They achieve the same goals. Another thing that I was thinking about was to maybe not focus on data viz anymore, but try to see the data process as a whole. So seeing data engineering tools, data science tool, and keep my messy data visualization process. So I had to choose between those two paths, but to be honest, none of them convinced me. That's why I choose to become a data visualization freelance and focus on my own path, my beginner's path. What do I want to learn? And the first tool I decided to learn was D3 because I was seeing all the cool things that people were doing with D3 on Twitter, and I wanted to do the same. And as you can see, it's not a bar chart or a line chart. It's a network graph. As soon as I was using a new tool, I had new ideas and new way to represent data. These visualizations show the interaction between people on Twitter during a conference. And I did it using D3 and I published it on Netlify, but I was thinking, what if I combine D3 and Tableau? So I recreated the same visualization, the same dashboard in Tableau. And what struck me was how easy it was to do all the interaction and the UI in Tableau compared to do it on the web with HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. So I could really easily click on a point and use the action to highlight the point, highlight the lines, and change the UI. So I was really happy about using D3 to generate the viz and using Tableau to assemble it and to create the interaction. In another project, I used the same principle. I used D3 to create a Voronoi tree map showing the percentage of line cover in OECD countries. And using Tableau, I was able to use, for example, parameter to change the sort option and sort the countries with the one with the more tree covering. I could also click on an element and highlight the rest. So all the interaction, all the UI, all the sorting, filtering, and using parameters was really easy to do in Tableau. And D3 was really here to create that visualization that Tableau cannot create. I wanted to give the opportunity for the people to create their own Voronoi tree map in Tableau using Observable. And I saw that Will already had an Observable notebook with a Voronoi tree map. So I was able to use that as a base. So by forking his notebook to have a base to create my tool. And the tool was really easy to use. You just input your CSV, you choose the shape, and you were able to generate your own tree map with your data and put it in Tableau. A lot of people use it, even Duncan from a recommendation from Ali. So I was really happy with that project and be able to share and to see that a lot of people were using this tool. Later, I made a new project in collaboration with Yvette Kovac, and this one was using D3 and RoughJS to have the circle packing and also the hand-drawn effect. And same principle, Tableau was there to allow us to do the interaction and assemble the UI. In this example, showing the percentage of women participants in the Olympics, I use Procreate, so a new tool. And actually, I learned that Procreate was not the best tool to use to do these kind of things, but that's also a good thing. I learned when to use it, when not to use it. In another project, I wanted to show the collaboration between Latin music artists. So again, I used D3 to create the network graph, but I also used Figma to build the UI and to prototype into what look do I want to give to my dashboard. And it was really efficient for me to do that first in Figma and then do the final development in Tableau. And of course, Tableau was again used to do all the interaction, being able to click on an artist and follow the artist in the rest of the dashboard. I think if I wanted to do that only using web, I would have spent a long time. And also, if I didn't use Figma, I would have to iterate a lot in Tableau, which is also not the best. In my most recent project, which is an analysis of the sci-fi movies from the 80s, I use Photoshop, D3, Figma, Procreate, and Tableau. And I will show you the process in a moment. It's also a long visualization, and it also uses really a lot of different elements. You can click on a movie and see the movie. So this is my path, and this is why I'm convinced that you should have a forever beginner's path. You should always try to find new tools to open your mind, new ways to represent information. So I went from this process, this messy process, to doing the data exploration in Tableau, doing most of my sketching in Procreate, building the UI with a combination of Figma, but also a bit of Photoshop and Procreate when I need it, do the development of using Tableau for the interaction and D3 for most of the difficult visualization that Tableau cannot create. And I publish my work either on Tableau Public, on Netlify, or on Observable if I want to share it. So how, if I take this dashboard as an example again, here's the process. So first, doing all the data exploration in Tableau to find out what is in my data, to just get a grasp of the content of my dataset. Then using Procreate to kind of sketch what kind of look do I want, play with the color, play with the shape, just putting my ideas and just drawing it basically. Then with D3 generate the visualization that Tableau cannot do, so the more difficult stuff, right? Network graph, iterating to trying to find the best way to represent this network. And in this case, it was a network, but it can be any type of visualization that is a bit more difficult. And then in Figma, that's where I start to prototype with all my different things. So I had the layout, I had the network, I had the standard charts, trying to put those things together, right? So I iterated with the color, I iterated with the title, with the different layout, with the font, with the shapes. I had this kind of ideas for a title. I iterated with the legend until reaching the final piece that made me happy, and I was like, okay, this is what I want to build. So Photoshop was used to create the neon style title. And Tableau was used to create the final piece, to assemble all the elements, all the different things that were coming from Figma, from Photoshop, from D3, and build the interaction on top. Finally, I published it on Tableau Public, and my entire process from Tableau to Tableau again, but passing through Procreate, Figma, Photoshop, D3. So what I wanted to say is, like, try to always be a beginner. Try to always have this mindset of trying to find new ways to learn new things and see how you can combine them together, and really you will really enjoy the process. For example, recently I always thought that I was not able to do anything in the web. I was not a web developer, but I learned to use Webflow and in combination with Figma and D3, and I was able to build my personal freelance website. And who knows, in my database process, now I am getting new ideas of how to use Webflow, maybe for the development part or the publishing part. 2 weeks ago, I went to the I/O Festival and I went to a workshop with Stephanie Posavec, and we made visualization using only charcoal and a white paper, right? I never used those kind of tools to do visualization, and it forced me to rewire my brain, think about new ways, think about new ideas. And again, maybe in my process tomorrow, I will also use pen and paper to do the sketching or to incorporate some element in my visualization. So every time that I'm learning something new, I get new ideas, I see new ways to combine tools. So I said it already, I will say it again, try to always have this beginner mindset. Try to always be a beginner in some way. Because of course, in my job, if you want to progress and as a freelance, I cannot sell myself as a beginner. But really having this mindset and having always new tools in mind and new ideas makes me a better data visualization freelance, for sure. I was able to go from like this messy process to something much more clear, much more defined. And even in the way I communicate, I'm not saying that Tableau is the best or that CSS is hard or that I cannot draw or it will take weeks to produce that in D3. Now I'm really saying, I think the best tool for your need is this. Or tell me more about your tool. Or what if I combine this and that? What will that create? Or just much more positive, much more open to learn new things. And I hope you see the value in that. So a few months ago, I joined the Elevate community, and they really don't ask us to say anything about that. It's really me who wanted to continue to share my my point of view, my path. And part of the Elevate community, there are people who are doing P5, and actually we have a creative coding challenge. So I was able to create this in P5, which is really nothing extraordinary, but for me it was really new that I was able to generate something with no data, that there is no data behind it. On Elevate, there is also a community of people using Svelte and D3. So that was really interesting because I hear about that tool a lot. So who knows? Maybe in the future, my process will integrate some art part with P5, or maybe I will start to use Svelte part of my development. I don't know. The only thing I know is that I want to continue in that beginner's path. I want to always be a beginner in some way and keep my mind open about anything new that can arrive, any new development in that field. So thank you a lot for listening. I hope you enjoyed the talk. I'm probably here for some questions, so if you want to ask me anything, now is the time. I will not be in the same place. So yeah, talk to you soon.
Hello. I don't know if I cannot hear
Unmute.
you or if...
We can hear you.
Okay. Yes, okay, I can hear you too now.
Thanks so much for your talk. I
Oh,
loved
yes,
the
thank you.
beginner's mindset.
Yeah, well, I think it was my way to and continue enjoying my work, right? And to not feel like at some point I feel that sometimes people kind of, they have like this moment when they are like doing a lot and then they disappear, maybe because they are like bored by what they are doing. And like, I'm sure like if I was continuing to do just Tableau all the time and just focusing on one tool, I would get bored too. I would be like, okay, well, it's more of the same. And it's always my way to find inspiration and to be like, yeah, okay, I think I enjoy these new things. It's always fun to discover.
Yes. So a question that we had live is that people, of course, want to know how you learn D3. And in the Elevate community, Will had put together this really great resource of a D3 learning path with different resources to put together. But as you walk us through the forest, can you tell us a little bit about how you personally learned D3? Any particular resources that were helpful?
Yes, of course. I think, well, the thing I notice is it's something that evolves a lot. So recently I shared like an article on Twitter about combining D3 and Svelte because I was convinced that it was probably a new good way to do it. Personally, I learned it with Amelia's book, Amelia Wattenberger. I don't know if I pronounce it correctly. It's called Full Stack D3, so you can find it also really easily. You search like Full Stack D3 Amelia, and you will find it. In that book, she's teaching really like the traditional D3, and also how to combine D3 and React. And for having done, I did a bit of D3 and React, and I'm not convinced that is the best way anymore. Like I know some people are still doing React D3 a lot. To just have barely touched the Svelte D3, I find it a better approach. So in that world that is constantly evolving and having new tools, I think it's also interesting for people that they are searching what is the current thing, what is the good thing right now. So
yeah, I've heard Amelia's book is really great from a lot of other people as well. I don't know if this is something that's easily explainable over a short Q&A, but how do you, someone asked, how do you embed a D3 chart in Tableau?
Yes, so D3, well, from my knowledge, right, or the way I've used D3, I was always generating SVG, right? In your browser, it creates SVG that is circle or shapes or stuff like it's SVG. And a way that you can convert there is a way that you can convert in JavaScript SVG into a polygon. So you just basically plot every a lot of small points that make the shape of the SVG, and then basically a Voronoi chart will be just like a huge CSV with a lot of polygons. So just saying, okay, this part has X and Y. And really the main rule in Tableau is you can do anything in Tableau as long as you have like a X, Y coordinate and a path. You just create polygons. So you just convert SVG into polygon, and then Tableau can understand the polygon. The only big drawback is the data cannot change, because you will have to then regenerate the CSV containing the polygon data and re-inject that into Tableau. I have not find a way to make that, of course, automatic. So yeah, but for static visualization, that's what I'm mostly sharing on Tableau Public, is just converting SVG to polygon. So
Got it.
as long as you can do that, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's really cool. Some people have been very interested also, as a freelancer. Can you think back on how either you got your first client or kind of what you do in order to get clients now?
Yes. I think it's mostly sharing. You share what you do. Yeah, publicly. Yes. Since I started in the consulting world, like in 2015, I started my Tableau Public portfolio, and I was sharing what I was doing, sharing my viz, sharing on blogs, sharing in a lot of different ways. And I think that's how people start to see that you are producing work that they like, that you are just being there, just showing what you do. And then I think the question was also like, how do you find the what I want to say is always try to do good work, right? Always try to produce something that always be nice, always be good, because I had some of my very first clients when I started in 2014, that suddenly 7 years later, when I passed through other companies and other things, they were like, hey, we really appreciated when we worked together 7 years ago. Now we have some new needs. Are you still a consultant? Can we work with you? And I was like, well, not in the same company. I'm a freelance now, but I would be happy to work with you. So if you always try to do good work, I have the feeling that in the future, this will come to fruition. I don't know if that's a word. Right. Yeah, exactly. So you just plant seeds by doing good stuff, and at some point, people hopefully reach out. And of course, I think you need to be a bit lucky in some way. You can try to force that, but also, being in France, being in Europe, help and stuff like that is probably also more difficult for people who don't have the same opportunities. So yeah, but yeah, I think really the key is to always try to do things and show what you can do. Show what you can do. People will see it, and people will like what you do. Not everyone will like what you do, but some will. And
yeah, it takes time. You have to share consistently. But
exactly,
I mean, you sharing publicly, that's how I found you and interviewed you on my podcast a couple years ago. So you just got to keep sharing.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I think that's the key, and not being afraid of what you share, because you start with something. Like, I still have my very first Tableau Public visualization that I did like in 2015. It's not up to date. It's not nice anymore, but it's still there, and it shows progression. So do not be afraid to share anything, even if you are at your beginning.
Right. We all start at the beginning, right?
Exactly.
Well, thanks so much, Tristan. It was so nice to get a quick Q&A with you, and we really appreciated your talk.
Yes. Thank you. If you have any other question, I will look at the chat, and otherwise you can reach out on Twitter, on any other place, right?
Yep.
Thank you a lot for the invitation. Sorry that I was not able to do the talk live, but yeah, I was able to test my setup of like having a mic and everything. It was funny also. It was a lot of work, more than I expected. Yeah. Now I'm like, I see the amount of work that you need to put to create like a 15-minute video.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot, right?
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Tristan.
Thank you. Bye-bye.